Breaking news, Donald Trump is publicly panicking as VP Harris is now officially favored to win the 2024 election for the first time since her entrance into the race. This article reads, Kamala Harris now favorite to win election for first time. And this is honestly the best that any Democrat has done in the polls for a while. And VP Harris's polling increase comes at the perfect time when she's getting a fundraising increase, a momentum increase, an overall energy increase. Before we break that down, I want to read this article called Republicans Freak Out Over Trump's New Race-Based Attack on Harris. Now, this article came out today and it details how Republicans are in full-blown panic mode because Donald Trump is struggling to find his footing against VP Harris and find effective ways to attack her, but his instincts are telling him be racist, be sexist, and he is falling victim to his instincts. Republican lawmakers were horrified by Donald Trump's comments questioning Kamala Harris's racial identity that he has since doubled down on, let me remind you. The GOP presidential nominee's comments, in which he claimed not to know Harris, quote, was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, were met with gasps at a gathering of the National Association of Black Journalists in Chicago. Politico reported that, quote, virtually every Republican it contacted about Trump's new attack line was, quote, flat out distraught by what they perceive as a self-inflicted wound, not only for Trump, but for Republicans down the ballot. Now, Republicans are already historically weak with black Americans due to their overall racism, and it's funny because a lot of minority Americans do tend to be somewhat conservative socially, so if Republicans were just a little bit less racist, they could win over black voters. And some polls were showing that black voters were moving to the Republican Party, now not at the level that Donald Trump claims, but there were slight movements, and Donald Trump just completely lost all of that. He just axed all of that, in my opinion. Other GOP figures were commented publicly to argue that questioning Harris's race isn't a good idea for political reasons. Quote, it's not a great idea for either of the parties to be playing racial identity politics, whether it's white dudes for Kamala or whatever this is, Senator Josh Hawley said, according to Huffington Post reporter Igor Bobek. And honestly, that is a false equivalency right there. The white dudes for Kamala fundraiser was a fun meme that was based off of the black women for Kamala, and then the black men for Kamala, and then white women for Kamala. Then everybody had their fun with it. It was just a cool trend, but this is vitriolic coming from Donald Trump. Those two things should not be compared. And let me point out that there have been two instances of the Republican Party making up birth certificate conspiracy theories about the Democratic Party's lead candidate, and both times the lead candidate has been a black American citizen, and both times Donald Trump has been the one who has led the charge in these claims. In 2012, he was the one who mainstreamed these claims, and in 2024, you can make a very sound argument that he's leading the charge for all of these racist claims. Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina, quote, clearly didn't like what he heard from Trump, according to Punchbowl News, which noted that the lawmaker remained cautious in criticizing the former president, as they must. If they don't toe the party line, they will be completely kicked out. And Donald Trump will claim that they betrayed him, and he'll publicly come up with nicknames for them. Tom Tillis said, quote, my comment is anytime we're commenting on anything but this Biden administration's failed economy, failed border, failed national security, we're not gaining ground, Tillis was quoted as saying. When asked if he believed Trump should apologize, Tillis answered, quote, I'll leave that to President Trump. Now, if Tillis has kids, if his kids said that to somebody else, he would absolutely make them apologize. If Tillis had heard somebody say this in any other context, he would know that it is disgusting, but because it is Donald Trump, again, he has to toe the line. Some Republicans, those not aligned with Trump, publicly slammed Trump's attacks. Former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, who is now a Senate candidate, said it's, quote, unacceptable and abhorrent to attack Vice President Harris or anyone's racial identity. Quote, the American people deserve better, he wrote on X, a sentiment shared by Harris in her own denunciation of the attack. Senator Lisa Murkowski, a Republican from Arkansas, similarly called Trump's comments one of the several, quote, very unfortunate slip-ups from the MAGA camp. That is an understatement. Quote, childless Catwoman, DEI candidates, now is she black? Is she Indian? She said, according to Axios. Yeah, it's not a good look, and I'm glad that people are noticing. Kamala Harris now favorite to win election for first time. And like I said, this is coming at a critical moment, at the perfect moment when Donald Trump is being blasted for his racist remarks. Donald Trump is being blasted for picking a terrible VP candidate, J.D. Vance, and Donald Trump is just showing signs of cognitive decline overall. For the first time since launching her presidential campaign, Kamala Harris is predicted to win the 2024 election. Online prediction market PredictIt shows that Harris is the favorite to win in November, with shares of a Harris victory being sold for 52 cents, and since this article was posted earlier, VP Harris is now leading Donald Trump by 4 cents, and I know that prediction markets aren't always predictive of the election of an outcome, but they aren't always terrible, and they do reflect the polling, they do reflect the data, they do reflect the on-the-ground momentum and the on-the-ground work that the candidates are doing. So, VP Harris has been campaigning a bunch. She opened a lot of field offices and is using a lot of Biden's infrastructure. Donald Trump had a incredibly terrible event where he was outed as a racist for the bajillionth time. Donald Trump is having so many slip-ups at his rallies, and JD Vance is hurting him with the childless cat lady comments. So, the betting markets reflect all of this stuff. The betting markets constantly update as new things come out. So it's not perfect, but the fact that VP Harris is ahead for the first time in the election cycle is a sign of hope. It is unequivocally a sign of hope. Harris first moved ahead of Trump in odds on the platform on Wednesday afternoon before moving into a tie shortly after 6 p.m. Eastern Time and later retaking the lead. However, other betting platforms show that Trump has a lead over Harris, but if we break down the broad polling, it shows that VP Harris is rapidly gaining ground. In a poll conducted by Morning Consult after Biden ended his re-election campaign, the former president was only 2 points ahead of Harris after a previous survey by the same pollsters put Trump 4 points ahead of Biden. And now we have a bunch of polling from key swing states showing that VP Harris is not only favorable, more favorable than Donald Trump, she has higher favorability ratings, but she is actually incredibly competitive and neck with him in states like Georgia, in states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and that is good. VP Harris has already gained a lot of ground, and she has been campaigning for less than a week and a half. So as she ramps up the campaign, as they ramp up the ads, and as Donald Trump continues to expose himself as a dumb fraud who knows nothing about politics, I think we should be in a good position. Now, we can't get complacent. We have to make sure that we are phone banking, we are canvassing, we are door knocking, we are spreading the word. Go make sure you are registered to vote. Go make sure your friends are registered to vote. Make sure they have a plan to go vote. Go join your local Democratic committee. Every small city has one. Every big city has one. It is a good way to mobilize. Because if we don't effectively mobilize, if we don't turn out en masse in November, then all of these polls showing VP Harris ahead mean nothing. All of this enthusiasm on TikTok means nothing. So my generation and everybody watching needs to make sure they are voting. This Reuters article reads, Harris holds on to 1 point lead over Trump in latest Reuters Ipsos poll. And these are really high quality polls, you guys. Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris held a marginal 1 percentage point lead over Republican Donald Trump in a new Reuters Ipsos poll, closing the gap that opened in the final weeks of Joe Biden's re-election bid. The 3-day poll, completed on Sunday, showed Vice President Harris is supported by 43% of registered voters, with former President Trump supported by 42%, within the poll's 3.5 percentage point margin of error. I'm going to wrap it up there. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, comment a blue heart, hit that subscribe button. I appreciate every single one of you that is a part of this beautiful growing community as we get closer to the election. We panic together, cheer together, cry together, laugh together. It is amazing. Most importantly, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.